Welcome to the Kitsap Matters podcast. In each episode, we discuss the people, places, and things that make Kitsap County unique, covering local entertainment, restaurants, business, government, and anything else we find interesting, troubling, or just plain amusing. A brief disclosure, this is a community-focused podcast, not a financial podcast, but sometimes financial topics do arise. And since the host is a licensed financial professional, we have to include the following disclosure in every episode. The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it's in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Kevin Campbell is an investment representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corporation, a registered investment advisor located at 6020 East Fulton Street, Ada, Michigan, 49301. Peaks Financial is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities Corporation. Hi, welcome to the Kitsap Matters podcast. I'm Kevin Campbell, and today we have the pleasure of speaking with Cassandra Houck, founder of Couture Tax and Consulting. Cassandra is a two-time award winner, having secured the 2021 Best of Bainbridge Island Award for Accounting, and in 2022 she not only won Best of Bainbridge but also Best of Kitsap. So we're going to dive into her journey and her expertise. Cassandra, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to be here.
So as we mentioned at the start of every show, if you're familiar with Peaks Financial, you've probably heard of our sale formula. The sale formula is the system that we used to manage the financial planning process for our clients. It's all about the key components of our planning philosophy. In the name sale formula, it actually means something to us. The first four letters of the word formula, F-O-R-M, represent family, occupation, recreation, and money. It's all about what matters most and what you can control. What's fun about our planning approach is that it provides a great outline for interviews like this. So today we're going to dive into Cassandra's story and what matters to her most. So let's jump into it.
Okay.
So again, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So as I've been getting to know you, right?
Yes.
We met a month or so ago.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you've got your tax practice. You've got a whole lot going on.
Yes, I do.
But let's start off with, we'll get into all the various occupation things you're doing.
Okay.
But we're going to follow our format here,
Sure.
family. Tell us a little about you, your background, and how you, family situation, and how you ended up in the area here.
Sure, yeah. So I'm a boy mom. I have 3 boys. My oldest is 11, and I have a set of twins who are 9. So all things boys is what occupies my time. Lots of football and different sports, and I actually kind of grew up in the area. I graduated from North, which is the local high school here.
Awesome.
And then I, have moved around and traveled a bit during my life, but kind of always been from this area. I was born in Port Townsend, so if you're also local enough, you'd know where that's at too. But yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. So, and your boys, what do you end up spending time with them doing?
Football. They do it year round and at least 5 nights a week. So I didn't know anything about football when they started playing. So I am now learning all of the things, right, and all of the stats and all the fun stuff. So it's really cool to see them challenged and grow and to have new experiences and to be able to celebrate the highs and lows of sports with them.
What's your favorite part of being a mom?
I like seeing my kids win. I really love it when they've been working super hard at something. So if they've had a test that they've been studying for and they worked super hard, or, a play they were trying to get in football and then they achieve it, I love celebrating their wins with them. That's one of my favorite things about being a mom.
What kind of messages or lessons are you trying to instill in the boys?
Yeah, to me, it's really important to leave a legacy. My dad passed away a few years ago, and it really made me reframe what I was doing in life. And I took a huge shift because I was going through all of his stuff, and I was thinking about all of the trips he wanted to go on that he never went on, and piecing together what his whole life was. And I thought, well, what are my kids going to think about when they're going through my stuff? What's going to be the takeaway of what's important, what mattered to me? And so I've made a very big intentional shift to have them be involved in charity work with me, because I want to leave a legacy for them of being kind and respectful and giving back to the community and making a difference. So I've made a huge point of doing that. So I've done a lot of fun runs with them where they'll come do that with me. I'm on the board of several nonprofits, and I'll bring them to the events just because I want them to see firsthand and experience it, because it's a lot different to tell someone to go do something, right? Like, oh, hey, this is how you play football. But if you never actually like practice it or try it, you're never going to learn and experience. So I want to instill this love of community and giving back to them.
So speaking of family, as you look at your professional path that you've gone down, so you've got several different businesses. You're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Is there somebody in your family who kind of helped pave that path for you? Is there somebody who influenced your direction in your career?
Definitely not in my family, but certainly there was someone that influenced me. Frank Warner, he's a kind of local legend CPA here. He took me under his wing when I was going to college, and I just was really, I always thought that math and numbers sound super boring. I know people probably cringe that I'm a tax person in saying that, but what really drew me to the industry was Frank's love and passion for caring about people and improving their quality of life. So I got to sit in lots of meetings and hear him talk single moms who were struggling to pay bills into funding Roth IRAs, and situations where they're from families that had never had a background of planning for the future or doing that. So it's this totally foreign concept, and it's really hard to convince people the value of something they've never experienced or never seen. And so, but at the end of the day, that changed that person's life. She started doing it, she taught her children how to do it, her kids ended up going to college, and now you have an entire generation whose financial and emotional and every part of their life is better for it. Yeah. And so that was a huge draw to me, is like, I want to find a way to be able to help people in a meaningful way. And as much as like numbers might sound boring, it really can dramatically impact people's lives, what they do with their finances or the education that they have presented to them. So that really drew me, like seeing his love and the way that he cared about people, and taking the time for somebody who didn't have a lot of money, who wasn't someone super fancy and important, but how everybody mattered and everybody was worth the time to give good advice to. That just really like spoke to me, and I wanted to do that. So that definitely really shaped my career path to going and picking that industry.
It's a huge impact.
Yeah.
The things that you do professionally, the things that I do professionally, they make a huge impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
And it's something not to be taken for granted. As you were talking about the importance, and I was thinking about the importance of tax planning and how much people lose out of their money that goes to the government. I was having a conversation with somebody this morning about they had a bonus coming to them, and they were surprised at how little they actually ended up receiving. We were having a conversation about taxes, and it's like, yeah, here's how much the government made.
Right.
And you start looking at those numbers, it's like, wow, okay, that's unpleasant.
Yeah.
So having effective financial planning in the tax realms, in the investment realms, in the retirement income planning realms is super, super important, right? We were just having a conversation here earlier today about, it's not what you make is certainly important, and the more you make, the better things can be.
Yeah.
But it's how much you keep and how much you invest and how much you can manage to hang on to.
Yeah, it's a strategy.
Yep.
And I think you can plan and strategize, and when people don't plan, you're just reacting. And so you're never going to get the best answer for your life instead of reacting. You'll always get better if you can plan and take steps and prepare.
So let's first talk about your tax planning practice.
Okay.
So what's the most challenging aspect of that you've run into on the tax planning side, as far as being in that field? What are some of the biggest challenges you run into?
For me, probably the biggest challenge is providing education. There's a huge need in this area for just financial literacy. Like, I can't tell you how many brand new clients that I have received that nobody has ever had a conversation with them about, like, what does retirement look like for you? So they're not funding a retirement. They don't know what that looks like. They have nobody in their family that's done it before, or they're people that are just so busy in the day-to-day, they just, they don't have anything going. So one of the things I really strive to do is to create a team for people, because I feel like if you can get your insurance person, your financial advisor, your tax person, if your bookkeeper, if you have a business, all on the same page and connecting, now instead of you playing telephone with all of these people trying to come up with something creative, you have people that all speak the same language. that can know what your goals and objectives are and can help you reach it better. Like if you have a team, like think about Olympic athletes. They have a whole team behind them. They've got coaches, they've got nutritionists, so they can just focus on what they do best and win. And that's my job as the tax professional is you've got your business, you've got your life. Let me focus on the areas that I know so you can win and thrive. And so bringing in people like their financial advisors and the other team players just increase the odds of that success. So that's been a challenge too, because it's something different that people aren't used to. But I have found when I explain the benefit of that, people are like, yes, I want that. And so that's something that I'm really trying to bring to my practice in this area is the concept of like, get all the correct people together so you can have the best answer and be the most successful with whatever you have.
You and I, the first time we met, we spoke about this.
Yes.
Is that this is actually one of the, if you want to say cool things that came out of the pandemic. There wasn't, I wouldn't necessarily try to correlate cool and the pandemic, but
right.
Something that was a benefit is that everybody's now on Zoom.
Yes.
Right? Where before that, we've been working heavily in Zoom. We have clients all across the country. Mm-hmm. So we've been working heavily using remote technologies, whether it was Zoom or platforms before that. Having video meetings with people for years.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it heavily since almost 10 years. We've been working heavily remote with people. And the challenge before was it was always very difficult to get a CPA, a financial advisor, and an attorney in the same room. It
right.
almost sounds like the beginning of a joke, right?
I know,
CPA,
right?
They walk into a bar.
Where's the punchline?
So it was really hard to get all the same people into the same room
yeah.
for a meeting. And now that it's so much easier. And so when, like if you and I are working together on a client, it makes it so much easier that we can jump on a Zoom with the client and solve problems.
Exactly.
You can solve tax problems, I can solve investment problems, other financial problems, and it makes things so much easier for everybody. And it's a huge benefit to the client as well, is to get them out of the middle often because they don't necessarily always speak our language.
Right.
So how do you see your profession changing in the next 20 years?
You know, with like AI and with outsourcing stuff, it's when I actually was going to college, all of the guidance counselors were saying, don't go into accounting, don't go into taxes. It's going to be a dead industry. It's not going to exist. It's all going to be outsourced. A lot of it is, but I think that there's always going to be room for the personal touch. And there's certain things that you can't outsource. You can't outsource a strategy, right? Like, so I think that in probably a certain period of time, that very easy basic returns will be just done by computers or that. But I think you're always going to have people who want to make sure they're getting all the deductions, all of the credits, that have questions, that want somebody to actually take the time to walk them through and answer so they can feel like they understand and they know what's happening in their tax situation. So I think it's going to be a big split where it's going to be a lot harder. I mean, right now there's already a huge shortage of tax professionals, and it is not an industry that a lot of people are going into, so it's going to continue to be a problem. So I think there's going to be a big shift between like a lot of people are going to get stuck using automated stuff, and it's going to be a lot harder to find somebody to give you that personal touch. But I think if you're going to be a business owner, you're going to absolutely want that. Like you're going to need that in your life.
We've had the same questions on my side is, how is AI going to impact your industry? And I think it can help us become more efficient.
Sure.
But I don't think it's going to replace us anytime soon because, it does have artificial intelligence. It has no emotional intelligence, right? It can't understand nuance. And like you were talking about, the personalization, the personal touch, and the nuance of understanding what's going on in somebody's financial life.
Right.
It can help optimize things that are simple, but it can't replace one-on-one advice.
No, because there's lots of situations where, yes, this is the overall best answer, but if you don't take into account like, oh, hey, I'm having a baby next month, or oh, hey, I'm getting divorced, oh, hey, this, all these other factors that AI isn't going to know about or be able to assimilate in, that's not the best answer now. Now, this is the best answer for this situation, or that is. So I completely agree with you. Like, there are situations where it's just not going to be possible for AI to give them the best answer because there's no way for it to like calculate all of those different options.
Awesome. So let's shift gears here for a sec. So obviously you have some very different worlds that you exist in.
Yes, I do.
So you have the tax side. Now talk about your new product line that you're working on and some of the other things that you're doing.
Okay. So I like using the left side and the right side of my brain. So taxes are very fun and very analytical, and I love strategy. But I also like being artistic and designing. So beginning of July, I launched my Siren Couture, my own bikini line. I also launched bikini jewelry line and a magazine to go with it as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So in the magazine, is that actually going to be a print magazine, or is it a digital online?
It is digital online, but it's actually locally at a lot of stores in Kitsap County, like hair, nail salons, like spas, that kind of thing. While you're sitting there waiting, I have ads from a lot of local business owners in there, and then I do interviews with models and designers to kind of promote my line, but also to promote, like I have some local beauty queens in there as well, just to kind of promote business in the area. And yeah.
And speaking of beauty queen, that's something that you've also got some experience in, is right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am actually the current Ms. Universe, so I give up my title in August. So that's kind of why I ended up doing the bikini line. Is I wanted a very unique bikini and I couldn't find one, so I was like, I'll just make my own, and I ended up winning in the one I wore. So I just kind of did my whole line based off of that.
Hey, this kind of works.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this did work out good. So yeah, no, I'm passionate about that women can be more than one thing instead of being like put in a box, like. And so I'm kind of a good example of that. I'm a mother, I volunteer, I have several successful businesses. You can be more than one thing in life. So I like that part of pageants. They allow you to showcase different nonprofits that you love and ways that you give back and make a difference in the community. But it also allows you to showcase that you can be multifaceted, which I think is awesome.
That's very cool. That's, I'm sure, very inspiring to a lot of people. Cool. So now let's talk about recreation. So
sure.
What, when you're not going to football games or doing taxes or handling bikini models, what are you doing for fun?
I like to exercise, actually. Like, I love to go for long walks and have the sun hit my face. That's one of the most relaxing things for me. And then I love to travel. Like, I really like architecture. So for me, it's super fun to go to a new city and just like check out all the buildings and stuff. So probably walking in the sunshine and traveling would be my favorite hobbies.
What's the coolest city you've been to recently?
Paris. Paris was so beautiful. Like, just the architecture everywhere, like the Louvre and Notre Dame, and just like every little corner had all these beautiful old churches with gargoyles everywhere. I totally want gargoyles on my house now. But it was just stunning.
It
everything
could be a slight redesign.
Right? I'm like, I need these gargoyles on my house. But yeah.
You'll be known as the gargoyle house. That'll be great.
Right?
Okay, cool. So other than traveling, what else are you spending time doing other than that?
Volunteering, actually. I spend a lot of time doing that.
I actually saw that.
Yeah.
And talk about some of the volunteering you do and some of the organizations you're involved with.
Sure. So I'm on the board. I'm the treasurer for Central Park Angels. So it's a 501c3. I'm the only non-Ukrainian on the board or part of it. I like a lot of nonprofits, but this one I really love in particular because of the structure of it. So the mission is there's humanitarian aid, twofold: humanitarian aid in Ukraine for the war. So it's medical and it's evacuations and food that are being sent in there. And almost everybody on the board is originally from those cities in Ukraine. So we're working with their moms, their dads, their brothers delivering stuff. So there's not the issue of getting stuff through customs. There's not the issue of like, is the ground partners doing what they say? We video call, we know them. We're like, hey, there's your cousin or whatever. So I like that. I also like that from the top down, nobody gets paid for anything. Like, not a single person gets $1. 100% of the dollars that come in go. We get donations to cover admin costs. So we don't or we personally donate our services for the various people that are involved. So I really like that because some nonprofits actually take quite a large chunk for that. So at least your dollar's going for exactly what you want. They also work in Haiti, which is super cool, providing education. So they have, and food. So they have these really cool programs where they will essentially bribe the community to let the kids come to school by providing breakfast and lunch for the entire families if the kids are allowed to go, which is a great way to incentivize it. And in a area of the country where people usually one meal every 3 days, it's enticing. And the value of education is priceless, especially in extreme poverty. They also have a lot of like microloan programs for women. So they get like little Haitian goats and they get to keep them for a period of time. The goats have some babies. They return the mom and dad goat, get to keep the babies and start having a herd. So it's also a really cool way to create independence for, maybe women that have a bunch of children and don't have a spouse anymore or just in extreme poverty. So it's really fun to be part of that, helping in Ukraine and helping in Haiti to do something meaningful for people's lives.
That's awesome. That's super cool. So I'm involved through our Rotary group is involved in helping in areas of Africa, help people getting just clean drinking water.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the people there, a lot of the poverty is caused by lack of water because especially a lot of, in a lot of those areas, it's the women who are expected and responsible for going and getting the water. And literally they spend, in some cases, it's almost a full-time job.
Yeah.
So they're not able to go to school, they're not able to do things because they have to go get water.
Yes.
And often they have to carry it for miles. And so being able to just provide clean drink, something so simple.
Yeah.
Is clean water. Can be life-changing to people in other parts of the world where, because that's what their entire job is just to provide clean water, they can actually go get an education, go on and do other things other than carry water.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so meaningful. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. So those things are significant. So let's shift so we've talked family, we've talked occupation, we've talked recreation. Let's talk about money, because obviously, especially with the two of us, this is a lot of our worlds, right, is the money side. So you mentioned Frank was a huge influence on you from a money standpoint. What other people or things have been an influence for you on the money side?
Well, I've been in the industry almost 18 years, and I've worked at firms that have had 2 people, and I've worked at firms that have had 150 locations. So I've gotten to have the gambit of how different places are run and how different clients are served. And I found that, like, at the really big firms, kind of the top 1% of clients got access to different information than everybody else and different options, mainly because you would make more money off of them. And so for me, it was fun. I really enjoyed doing house calls and working with the high-end clients. But then I kind of got to thinking as well, why isn't this available for more people? Like, there's a huge demographic that could really put a lot of these tools into practice into place, and it's just stuff people don't know about. And so for me, that was really impactful. And so I try and run my firm very differently, where everybody gets the same access to information. So whether you are 19 and have a minimum wage job and you're just starting out, or whether you have a $10 million corporation, I will pitch all of the same valuable tools and information to you. Because here's the thing, even if you are 19 and you don't have the funds to do all of those things yet, you can have it in your mind and you know it's there. Yeah. So when you do have the funds, you can implement it and put it into place. But if no one ever tells you, by the time you have your $10 million business and it's been decades and decades, you've missed out on all this opportunity to build sustainable wealth and to generational wealth and to just completely set up your life in a different way. So for me, I kind of want to bring the 1% to everybody.
I think it's interesting in our worlds that how people view money, and sometimes I'll talk to people who say that, hey, leaving money or leaving a legacy isn't necessarily one of their highest priorities.
Sure.
And in some cases, though, too, I also feel like in some cases it might be because not necessarily that it's something they wouldn't want to do.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to do both.
Yes.
They don't know how to have the life that they want to have.
Yeah.
And leave a legacy for future generations as well. So, and there's some balancing act there too of how do I do that without creating generations of trust fund kids, right? Of just entitled people. So I've seen some interesting strategies around that as far as things like, I think we talked about this before, of incentive trusts and things like that.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite tools and resources on the tax planning side?
Really, for business owners, there's a lot of options that you can do. And so I always, especially if a business owner has little kids, it's super easy. There's all these cool tools available. You can open up an indexed life insurance policy for your kiddo. Not that you think they're sick or going to die, but the cool part about that is it's invested in the stock market. It gets a cash value. Life insurance plans are tax-free. So now, if you start funding it when your kid's a baby, by the time they're done with college and want to start their first business, they can borrow against their own money tax-free. And if they don't need the policy anymore, it's interest-free. You're not going to be able to get a loan at a bank like that. And so It's creating an opportunity for them, right? The other thing I really like to do is business owners to open up Roth IRAs for their kiddos. You have to have earned income, so you have to hire the kiddo as an employee. But that's good, right? So now your kid can go shred papers for you, unload boxes. You can even take a photo of them, put them on your website, and the IRS allows you to count that as, you're paying them for their modeling fee for the year. Do the $7,000 or whatever the max is for the year. They clearly don't need it. They're little. Now, as a business owner, you get to deduct the payroll taxes and the wage costs, so your bottom line is a little bit lower. Take that money, put it into a Roth IRA, and now you're funding college, right? So whereas a 529 plan is not my favorite because you don't know, like my children want to go to different colleges almost 5 different times a day, right?
Right.
So guessing where they're going to go, you don't know. Whereas if you're funding a Roth, it's so many options. They could have a great jump start on retirement. Again, they could use it to buy their first house. They could use it for college. All of these different options are available to them. So I always tell business owners, I'm like, you need to get this for your kids going when they're little. It's cheaper when they're little, all of these things. Grandparents want to like spoil them and do something, have them kick back a little bit of money each month, so there's things you can do at any income level. Like those are just 2 small examples, but you can make that happen, and that over time will drastically change your kids' trajectory over their lifetime.
I've had conversations with business owners before, and both of my kids have grown up working in our company. My
cool.
son's over here recording the podcast right now.
That's awesome.
And they've both grown up in the company. But I've talked to other entrepreneurs and business owners who, I'm like, hey, do you have your kids work in the company? And they're like, yeah, they help. They do the shredding or take out the trash or sweep out the shop or do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you pay them for that? And they're like, no, that's just part of them being a part of the family. I'm like, but then you said your kid also is involved in travel ball, right? Travel baseball or whatever.
Right.
You spend a lot of money doing that. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so let's think about this for a second.
Yeah.
You're not paying your kid to work. And then all of their expenses, you're paying at your tax rate rather than their tax rate.
Exactly.
And the light bulb kind of goes on of,
yeah,
okay, maybe we should change this up. Actually pay them for their work, and then if you don't, I did it slightly differently. My daughter had some very expensive hobbies when she was young, and rather than funding Roths for her, that money was what she earned through the company was what was funding all of her extracurriculars.
That's wonderful.
Right?
Yeah.
Or at least it was getting funded at her tax rate rather than mine.
Yes.
So there's a lot of cool things that you can do especially if you're a business owner. What about especially in this region, right? We're up in the Pacific Northwest here. We have a lot of tech workers, so there's a lot of highly compensated W-2 employees. I know that's a much tougher area as far as tax planning. What are some of the strategies that you can utilize as a highly compensated W-2 employee? Is there anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, 2 things come to mind. A lot of people leave on the table is maxing out retirement options that your employer's offering, because people sign up, do the bare minimum, not realizing that they're doing like a 3% match. They're only putting in 1%. You're leaving money on the table. Not only that, a lot of them offer deferrals, so it'll lower your taxable wage. It's not going to lower a tax bracket, but it will make a difference, especially if there's 2 of you working and you both do the maximum amount. So that's one thing that jumps into mind. Another is a lot of these tech companies are giving their employees, allowing their employees to get restricted stock options, which basically you get shares from the company that you pay for, but it's at a discounted rate compared to what the public could access it for. And so I see a lot of people, they're paying for that, and then when they go to make a big purchase or something and cash out their stock, they haven't been tracking the basis, which basically what it is you pay for something, that's your basis, you sell it at something, that nets, and that's what you pay taxes on. And I can't tell you how many returns I've seen from new clients where they're paying the full amount on the tax because they're not tracking the basis, but they've already paid the taxes before. So that's something that I think is a really good idea to pay attention to or have a professional look at to make sure you're not double paying on taxes when you're already in a high rate. Also taking advantage of like HSA's accounts and running stuff through there. There's other options you can do. So if you have a big stock portfolio and you're going to sell something, harvest loss, sell stuff that you have that's a loss because it nets. So your big thing at a gain, your big thing at a loss, and then you wouldn't have to pay taxes because it's the same type of income. So those are like kind of my first go-to things in that situation.
Awesome. So yeah, there's some cool strategies. The tax loss harvesting has gotten much more interesting over the last few years as well.
Yes.
With direct indexing becoming much more prevalent, which previously wasn't really, it's one of those things where technology changes everything, right?
Yes.
And technology has changed tax loss harvesting opportunities significantly for the better.
Yes.
And then on the, you mentioned HSAs.
Mm-hmm.
So would you explain for anybody who doesn't know what an HSA is, what that is?
Yeah, so it's a health savings account. So basically you put dollars in, and then it can be a deduction on your return. But then also when you go to the doctor or dentist, instead of you now writing another check, it comes out of your HSA. And it's not taxable to you as long as it's used for medical expenses. So you're paying your medical expenses, which normally for most people you don't get a tax deduction for because of the changes of the rules with itemized deductions, unless it's like almost 10% of your income, which you don't want to. But with an HSA, the maximum amount you can put in is a tax deduction for you. So it's a way to work around and still get a deduction for some of your medical expenses.
Right. And that money can compound over the years.
Oh, yeah.
So the way I've often described them to people is it's like an IRA for your medical expenses.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So it's like a retirement account for your medical expenses in the future. It's a great way to save additional funds and for the future that you're going to need at some significant tax discounts.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, what else? What else do we want to talk about on money?
I don't know.
Here's a good one.
Okay.
From your perspective, what's wrong with our industry? Because we're both in the same industry. We're kind of on different sides, or not different sides of it. We're on the same side of the table, basically.
Sure.
But you're on the tax side, and you're not just so you do tax planning and also actually tax filings as well.
Yeah.
We do high-level tax planning, but we do not do any tax filings whatsoever here. But otherwise, and I'm primarily on the financial services side, the financial advising side, the investment management. What do you think's wrong with our industry? This could turn into a therapy session here.
Well, the number one complaint I get from people as new clients is that they can't get a hold of somebody. They've called, they've left messages, It's been months. They don't know who their person is. They're shuffled around. They don't feel like anybody's paying attention to their situation. I think that's a problem because if somebody's not paying attention to what's going on, how are you getting the best advice? So that's the first problem, I think. The next problem is I think a lot of places push stuff through like it's McDonald's. Let me just crank you out and go away. I've done it. So I think the industry would be well served to have a shift that was more focused on, okay, what's your plan, what's your strategy, instead of how quickly can I get you out. So for me, it's super important to check in with people during the year because, for example, if you're a real estate agent, your income in January is probably not going to be what it is in February. Right. It's like you're going to have really high months, you're going to have really low months. Well, if nobody's checking in with you, why are you paying estimated tax payments when you had your really high month when now you haven't made anything for 3 months, right? There needs to be an adjustment and somebody needs to actually have a pulse on it. Or if you're a large construction company, and you're not checking in on anything and you're like, can I afford to make this big purchase? Can I do this? So you really, depending on the industry, and it's different for each person, you need to be checking in during the year. 1, so you know what payments you should be making. 2, so that you know what strategies you should be involved. And also just as a business owner, so you can make an informed decision if you can afford or not afford something. And I think another big flaw in the industry is April 15th rolls around and everyone's like, here's this huge tax bill, and they didn't know. You should know. That shouldn't be a surprise. My clients won't wake up on April 15th going, oh my gosh, what do I owe? They've known since October or November, and we've either discussed about it that, yep, it is what it is, we're just going to pay it, or we've looked at, okay, what are strategies that we should implement between now and at the end of the year so we don't have this, right? So just having that information and knowing where you are in your company and where you are in your personal finances is, I think, something that's very missing in our industry. So like you were saying, the high level tax planning, it's fine if you're doing something strategically and yes, it increases your taxes, but you just need to be aware of that so you can plan and be prepared because you can't move large sums of money, in a day, it just doesn't happen. And do you want to? You know what I mean? So there's those are the things that in my mind stick out as things that could definitely be improved in our industry. We actually make sure that for clients that might have complicated tax situations, that we're meeting with them in October, November. Yeah. Because, and a lot of people aren't familiar with this. They, like you said, they'll wake up on April 15th and go, hey, what do my taxes look like? Yeah. There are certain strategies that have to be implemented prior to year end. Yes. Some things you can do up until tax day. Some things you have to do prior to the end of the calendar year. Yeah. So that's usually what takes up our around here. It takes up our November and December. Exactly. Is running numbers and making sure that how are we looking for year end, because you can't wait until after the year has ended. Nope. Too late. The horse is out of the barn at that point. Yeah. So great advice is proactive planning. Yes, absolutely. So before I get to our last question. Okay.
Anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to plug?
No, I think I plugged everything.
Awesome.
Thank
you. Do you want to talk real quick about how people find you?
Sure. Yeah, I'm super easy to find. I'm all over social media. My phone number, my website. Yeah. And I'll give that all to you that you could put up as well.
Awesome. It'll go into it'll go onto the page with the links and all that kind of good stuff. So the last question is, what do you think is the best kept secret in Kitsap County? It could be a restaurant, a hike, a business, a waterfall. It could be anything. What's something that's out there that a lot of people might not know about that you think is kind of special?
Okay. Honestly, I think there's some really cool businesses in Kitsap County with unique strategies that people might not know about. So that, to me, I think is one of the coolest ones. One that comes to mind is BC Fitness, mainly because myself personally, I've always wanted to go to the gym, but it was scary and intimidating. And they have a structure where when it's your workout, you have the entire gym and nobody else is there. Yep. And it's locked. And so it's just you, your trainer, you get your own music, your own jams going on. And it's personalized so that your structure is correct, your form's correct. And I think so many people, if they knew about a service like that, where it's so customized and so tailored and it's affordable, I think that's a great, well-kept secret, actually, because it's like so proven that if you exercise, you're better in the rest of your life, right?
Yep,
like
absolutely.
Your mind functions better, and it can help with so many different things. I'm a huge proponent of movement and exercise for a million different reasons. So I would say BC Fitness is the best kept secret.
And ironically, I also train there.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
So
you already know the secret.
I already know that secret, yeah. So, which is fun. And actually, it was actually Brett who introduced us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, wonderful. So we'll call Brett or BC Fitness one of the best kept secrets in Kitsap. I'm not sure that he knows he's a secret.
Well, I didn't know that he was there until recently, so... Awesome. And I've lived here my whole life, so I think that it's fair to say not everybody knows about it.
That's true. That's true. All right. Anything else you want to chat about while you're here?
No. Thank you for having me.
All right. That's going to wrap it for another episode of the Kitsap Matters podcast. I'm Kevin Campbell. Cassandra, again, thank you for being here with us. It's been a pleasure. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Awesome.
A brief disclosure, this is a community-focused podcast, not a financial podcast, but sometimes financial topics do arise. And since the host is a licensed financial professional, we have to include the following disclosure in every episode. The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it's in everyone's best interest to consult a tax, legal, or investment professional. Kevin Campbell is an investment representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corporation, a registered investment advisor located at 6020 East Fulton Street, Ada, Michigan, 49301. Peaks Financial is not affiliated with USA Financial Securities Corporation.